This is Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson.
So here's the deal.
On 1620, The Zone.
If you ever see me talking to myself, I'm just running through the words I have to say.
If you missed it earlier, the Nebraska legislature, in its infinite wisdom, killed your opportunity to bet on Husker games played in the state as part of the gambling measure that accompanies the ballot initiative that we approved overwhelmingly, by the way, back in
and still
November,
overwhelmingly, by the way.
Still overwhelmingly. So what will happen is if it's an in-state Nebraska college team and they're playing an event in the state of Nebraska, you can't bet on them at a Nebraska casino when those casinos come online at horse tracks. That happened today.
It did indeed.
As stupid as it was, and we lamented this a few weeks ago when the amendment first came up, little did we know that it would come back again, and apparently a small group of senators were able to weasel their little amendment through because, well, they're afraid of
what it will mean for the children. Because those poor college athletes might get booed if they don't cover the spread.
I would like...
As opposed to not covering the spread in a road game?
I was going to say, I would like for any of these people to just log onto a message board and read the responses as Nebraska loses a game. Just to see so they're just mad, all the time.
They're just mad in general because the team didn't win.
Yeah, indeed.
But there might be changes coming soon for the better when it comes to Nebraska sports, high school sports to be exact. For the longest time, forever in fact, we've never had a shot clock in high school basketball. It leads to some rather, less than desirable finishes.
That's a good way
to
to
high
put
school
it.
basketball games where a team is up by 5 or 6 points and basically plays keep away for as long as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we've had shot clocks in the NBA forever, and we've had shot clocks in college basketball for almost 40 years.
Since what, the mid-'80s, mid to late 80s?
Early to mid-'80s, yeah.
Because the Jimmy V game,
Yep.
that one did not have a shot clock when North Carolina State upset Houston.
So the thing that has been in the way, it's not like Nebraska couldn't just say, hey, we want shot clocks.
It would come with a catch.
It would come with a catch, and that catch is they would lose their ability, their voting power in the National Federation of State High School Associations. So it's all 50 states, and when it comes to, getting, certain things done from a national level, if Nebraska were to do something that were outside of the allowed rules, they could lose their vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the political pressure essentially used to keep the state from making the change for shot clocks. Well, the National Federation of State High School Associations has now given its blessing to the entire country for adoption of a 35-second shot clock starting in 2022-23.
So in essentially one more basketball season like this, if it were to happen.
Now, again, this doesn't guarantee that Nebraska will get shot clocks, but at least now that excuse is off the table. And Associate Director of Basketball, John Dolliver, this is reading from Mike Sauter's story on Nebraska Preps. The NSAA will work with its schools in taking the next step regarding a shot clock, as this is a state association adoption and not a mandated rule. So what will probably happen, this is my guess, I would think that we will get shot clocks in the largest schools in 2 years.
In Class A? In Class B?
Maybe.
But in Class A?
But Class A for sure. I don't know if we'll get it in the smaller classes, because one of the objections, and it's a reasonable one, in order to properly operate the shot clock, you have to buy the equipment, and then you have to have someone run it. You can't have the same person the same volunteer who's running the scoreboard also run the shot clock.
And they have to know how to do it.
And
because
they have to be trained.
Okay, so unlike, if let's pretend the shot clock was put into place tomorrow, you'd have to teach everybody how to do it. And if that's what is going to happen, you're going to have to teach all these people. Meanwhile, the game clock, they've been doing that for years.
Sure.
They understand the ins and the outs. They understand because then you got to figure out, okay, what happens on a rebound? If an offensive team gets a rebound, is it reset all the way to 35? Is it a different number? What is the different number?
Right.
So you have to figure all those things out, and then you have to teach those people because, look, there are going to be mistakes. When this happens, there will be mistakes because it'll be a new thing.
So I would be surprised if we got it in the smallest classes, mainly because of a budgetary issue.
Yeah.
But the NSAA does have the ability to approve those things for single classes. So Class A could operate a little differently from Class B, Class C, Class D, and so on. And I think that's probably the most likely scenario that plays out first. Now, how that might work with state tournaments, I can't answer that definitively.
Are you saying, like, if it would be... It's non-existent all year, and then it's suddenly available to use in the state tournament?
Right. I don't know if they can do that. I would guess they might be able to because replay, they do have some ability to go to the monitor for replay.
Well, in theory, wouldn't that decision be more up to, I guess, like, if you're class, let's say C2, do you want to play by one rule all year long and then change it? Now, as you just mentioned with
they
replay,
may not.
And they're already doing that with replay, but replay is certainly in my opinion, it's a different animal. Replay is, look, it changes the game, but in my opinion, it has less of an effect than a shot clock would after a whole season of not having one. Because you just think about the mental clock that you have to have in your head with a shot clock if you're not looking at it all the time, and then but you don't have that all year, and then suddenly you would have to use it. It would change the sport. It really would.
And I think from a developmental standpoint, I think this is important
because I think it's awesome.
And not that Nebraska's had too much of a problem recently developing players for the next level, as we've seen with Chucky Hepburn and Hunter Salas and the like, Isaac Trout. There's plenty of Division I talent, but it's just nice to have a game that's more representative of what the game is like at the next levels up to finally get a shot clock. And it hasn't been a huge problem in a lot of Class A schools. A lot of Class A schools now have liked to play more up-tempo and don't tend to like to bleed out possessions. Well, now there's a reason not to do it. So if I had to guess, I would guess that in Nebraska they will probably adopt it for Class A schools, maybe for Class B schools, probably not for the smaller schools, again, because of the money issue.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Well,
and I think that'll be a good first step for this state.
Well, and like you said, this Class A final, the final score was 84-78, and that was with overtime. But even if you take away overtime, both teams scored 71 in regulation. That's a lot of points in a sport that did not have a shot clock, and so they were moving up and down the floor. But yeah, you do get some of those games that just grind to a halt, and it can be tough to watch at times.
Here's Jim. Hi, Jim. Thanks for waiting. You're in the zone.
Hey, guys. So I'm an administrator at a C1 school, and I used to be an AD at a smaller school. And you said money's the issue. I don't think money would be the issue. I think it's people. I mean, when I was an AD, I did clock for almost half of our basketball games. And I can't imagine having someone to run the clock and run the shot clock in those small schools. I bet A and B get it. I bet C1 on down would be almost impossible to make it uniform.
That makes sense, yeah.
But you don't think money would be a problem, Jim?
At some schools, but they'd find a way to make that work. I mean, a lot of times, especially when you get new scoreboards, they offer like an upgrade for, and to be honest, a relatively decent price to get the lights put on the back of your board anyway, so all you would need is just the clock. A lot of schools have the lights already on the back of the backboard if they've done an upgrade on their scoreboard in the last 10 years. I think money would be an issue for some, but I really think as a whole, it would be more of a person, like people issue.
Sure,
people
and
want
that
to
makes
come and watch
sense.
the game. They don't want to be the person running the clock. They don't want to be the person getting complained at because they're not doing it right. They'd rather sit there in the crowd and watch the game.
I imagine you're at a small Class D school, and you're having a hard enough time getting enough people to volunteer because there's just not a lot of population. you can imagine some folks saying, yeah, hometown clock operator, working the shot clock.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so you want to make sure whoever's doing it, is above board, properly trained. So, yeah, great point, Jim. Thanks a lot for the call.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
A people issue and a money issue. But, and those things, I understand those. In a perfect world, it would be great to have it uniform across all of basketball, no matter if it's played in Omaha or in Mullen. But there are also, logistical reasons why it might not be possible. Mm-hmm. But at least to have the availability of it to do it in the bigger classes, and maybe you could do it where it's available in the state tournament. I don't know if they would necessarily want that.
Yeah, in a way, I think
that's not
really
in the regular season. But either way, as long as they have the option to do so, I'm glad that there's that chance now.
I think that's a really intriguing idea of doing it in the tournament, and if those classes would want to, even though they played the regular season in an entirely different way. But I think just having the ability to do so and to not get essentially in trouble with the countrywide powers that be here, I think that is a huge positive. Because I remember when I learned that, I have a really good friend who works with NSAA, and I remember having a conversation, a long time ago. Why don't you guys have a shot clock? And he told me, well, we would lose all this funding, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's just crazy, to think about that. So now that this opportunity is there, I agree with you. I think it'll be in Class A schools, if they want it, and then you go from there. See what could happen at the lower levels.
So, Triggered Ryan wants to dispute caller Jim.
Oh, now our callers are fighting again. This hasn't happened in years.
we need more caller fighting.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Afternoon, guys. Yeah, I think Jim's wrong, even though he said he's a school administrator at a C1 school.
Uh-huh.
When I was in high school, I ran clock for girls and boys basketball, and it was really simple. I got paid, I got fed, and these guys know what they're doing. It's not that hard to find a guy or a kid who's just looking to get involved in their school, teach them how to do it, teach them how to set it up, teaches them life skills, teaches them how to prepare for the next level, and if they're interested, get involved in sports or in their college or university when they move on. It's really not that hard. Plus, these schools got money from their booster clubs to upgrade, and
so I assume Ryan, you're from one of these small towns where this is.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I'm from a small town, and I did it. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot about the game and how to get involved in my school and my university when I went to UNO.
Would that small town happen to be Irvington?
Irvington?
That would not be, no.
Oh, that's too bad. That's our home office.
I'm sorry, guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. So Ryan now arguing with Jim. I mean, yeah, there might be some schools where you get that kind of volunteer, but I understand. If you're a parent, do you want to watch the game or you want to run the clock?
Exactly.
It's like at the college level. I mean, these are trained professionals who are a part of the game day crew, and you just don't walk in and just start doing it. You have to be trained. You have to be certified. All those things. Mm-hmm. Now, you're probably not going to go quite to those levels at the high school level, but it's not necessarily easy to find those types of people.
And for every small town that
and for every game, if you're going to do it for one game, you got to do it for all the games.
Yeah, because
I can't do it this week because we're going out of town for Christmas.
Because Ryan, he's just from one small town. Is there that type of availability in all the small towns?
Exactly. Those of us who have been to western Nebraska, I've seen how barren it is out there.
Wow, barren. Listen to the way John described. There are humans there, John.
Well, barren in terms
and
of the
grass.
amount of humans.
There's some
there's
lakes.
Beautiful grass out there. The Sandhills.
Look at big grass guy over here.
The Sandhills are glorious.
I've never been to the Sandhills, but
they look great.
I have been to western Nebraska before.
Gretna?
No, I've been to actual western Nebraska, Stibbs, like Norfolk.
York. Coming up next.
Yeah.
It's time for What You Say. Stibbs, you going to be able to join us for this
I
segment?
know. He's dealing with politicians over here. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
That's fine.
Can you do that on your own damn time?
That's not what I'm doing. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a whole conversation going on during a commercial break.
Oh,
Yes, I know.
Things
Our
are
listeners
going
pointed
insane
that
over
out.
here. All right,
Awesome.
I'm trying to figure things out.
I'm gonna turn you
I'm a
into
busy man.
I'm gonna turn
This is
you
not-
into middle management,
It's
lower
not
middle management.
An easy job to do, John.
Joe says, "Why?"
I don't know. It looks like to me you're just clicking your mouse and pushing a couple of buttons. That's what it looks like to me.
Joe says, "Why does it have to be parents? I was the voice of the baseball team for Papillion in '95." All right, cool. And Shake Pig Appreciation Club says, "I just wanted to say that I believe both Ryan and Jim are incorrect." Look at this, a three-way fight.
Hell yeah.
now. Let's go. Let's just everybody argue.
Menage a trois.
Of fighting.
Fine, we'll erect the steel cage and
will
have
we?
it. Yes, we will.
Keep talking about peanuts and erects.
Peanuts.
Oh, peanuts.
Erector
Peanuts,
sets.
you deaf doorknob. Back in a minute on 1620 The Zone.